10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All systems go.
You're listening to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by.
On the morning shift.
Anything
Could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh. Glad to be with you. It's it's kind of wet and cold out there, and it's for a Friday, October the 7th, you would expect that kind of weather. And that's what we got. So thanks for being with us. Grateful to be with you. We're not on CKLU 96.7 FM this morning because there's something happening there that I'm not technically savvy enough to solve that problem. However, there are capable people who are on the scene, who are looking into it, who hopefully will be able to resolve whatever the situation is. I just know from my end, I did what I could, and so that's we're only on Facebook Live, facebook.com/Sudbury News this morning, and youtube.com/Sudbury News. So I apologize, and I guess I can't really apologize to the listeners because they can't hear me because there is no signal. But at the same time, I'm grateful to be with you, and I'm grateful to have the guest that I do, the co-host this morning that I have, and that is Anik. How are you doing this morning, Anik?
Good morning. It is great. I am looking out at a beautiful tree that is bright orange and red, and I am loving this fall season, even though it is a bit wet. And yesterday, actually, I had friends that got married. It was like a surprise wedding, and it rained the whole day.
Was their wedding? Wedding wasn't outdoors, was it, or was it?
It was outdoors in the forest in back of Hanmer.
During that rain we had yesterday?
Yes,
Oh no. Well,
I know.
I feel for them, anyways. But you said it was kind of like a pop-up wedding or something, wasn't it? Like a surprise?
Yes, they did. They told us on Monday. By the way, we're getting married on Thursday. Come over to our house and celebrate with us. We would love to have you there. It was just them two and their parents and their kids. That's it. It's just so refreshing. It's not really about the big party. It was about love. It was about, bringing the family closer together. And that's some local news for you guys.
You can't get any more local than that, for sure. So congratulations to the newlyweds, obviously. So we're grateful.
Miss and Mr. Viss.
Pardon me?
Yes. Melissa Collette and Andy Viss. So they are now
Mr. and
Viss
Mrs.
family.
Viss.
Yes. And it was interesting because when I was out and about with everyone, of course, I was talking about politics and letting them know what's going on in our city and how they can get involved. So it's fun.
That's awesome, yes. So few people. Julia, good morning. Shane, good morning. Rocker. I'm looking at his last name, Marco. So good morning, Marco, and good morning, Pam. It is Friday. We are very excited for it being, Friday. Just I changed your screen just as you were raising the roof there. Sorry about that, Nick.
That's okay.
I squashed your thunder. But so it's going to be a great day today. We got lots to talk about, and there was a couple mayoral debates that happened that we haven't talked about yet that we should talk about because there's a few important things that happened from those, and I really want to talk about the coverage of the debates too, and who's the moderators and who kind of controls conversations, and then after they control the conversation, what do they say about it, and then they control the message afterwards in the media, and all this is kind of like politics 101. It's the game everyone plays, and it's happening under our noses, so we might as well talk about it because it's cool to talk about things like that because it is happening here. We might as well unpack some things of what's going on so that way you as a voter can really see what's happening and then make a more informed choice rather than a more persuaded, something that has persuaded you to make that, or, pulled you along in a certain way?
It's a different perspective.
Yeah, exactly.
And we really appreciate everyone's comments too, because sometimes I have an opinion and someone else has a different opinion. We start talking about that opinion. That's what's cool about the show, is that we're just sharing our opinion about what's going on in our city. And this is how we learn, and this is how we educate, and this is how we grow as a community. So it's just great to hear and listen and talk about all different types of perspective about what's going on.
For sure. And I know basically yesterday was a really great time we had with all of you watching, and all of the comments that were coming in. It was a really great conversation. Lots of really awesome things were said. I think it was a really robust conversation myself. Afterwards, though, I was in a training meeting for work, and just a notification came up of someone who commented on the video and said, okay, enough chit chat already. Let's get on with some real news, kind of thing. And I was kind of feeling the love from everybody yesterday, and then you had a bit of a negative comment, but I just pondered on that for a second, and I thought, you know what, that's okay, that's good. It's there's someone's perspective there. They're expecting more just factual news coming through, and I can appreciate that. It's Sudbury News. That's what they're seeing on the screen. It's a talk show, however. It is a live stream talk show based on Sudbury events and news. So that's the reason for the name. So there is unpacking and a lot of talking and a lot of discussion. So if you're just looking for straightforward news and you just want it given to you, you will tune into CBC radio every half hour or whatever, or on the hour to get national or local news, or CTV, Northern Ontario News. They'll have some Sudbury stories on there. And
Also, the
Go
Facebook
ahead.
group. Just go scroll through the Facebook group. All the Facebook groups, it's all the main things that are happening locally. You can just scroll through Sudbury News on Facebook.
Yeah.
But this is good. Like you said, it's good to have different type of opinions. And it's interesting how humans can have 100 beautiful, awesome, positive comments, and then one comment, and we're like, no.
Exactly, 100%, yeah. And I know Julia was saying about what we're starting the show with was talking about the behind-the-scenes things that go on when, political campaigns and different, when we have these elections going on, what happens, the process is, and it shouldn't be secret. I think we should be aware of the tactics that are used by politicians, by media, to influence us to vote a certain way, one way or another, right? And so I think that's all part of being an informed citizen, and that's what this platform gives us an opportunity to do. Okay, so let's get the weather out of the way, and we'll get into some of these headlines we're talking about, and some unpacking and some discussion. Be back right after this. All right, and as promised, as soon as my screen comes up, which there it is now, and here it is, we do now have some weather, but now we're facing some technical things, so we'll try this again, and we'll do this, we'll do that, and here we are. So currently it's 1 degree, as you might know if you've had to turn the heat on a little bit, and humidity is 88%. I'm just move my mic here, so I'm in the middle. 88%, and today, basically, forecast is for, and here's the F word again, flurries or rain showers ending early this afternoon, then mainly cloudy. The wind will be gusting up to 60 kilometers an hour from the north, hence the colder weather, plus high will be +5. So that's still rather cold today. The UV index will be 3 or moderate. Tonight, mainly cloudy. The wind will be northwest, 20 kilometers, becoming light this evening, low of -2. The wind chill will be -6 overnight. We are getting some cold weather, especially overnight. Saturday, cloudy, 40% chance of showers in the afternoon. The wind will be coming from the southwest, 20 kilometers, gusting to 40 in the morning, high of 9, UV index 2 or low. Now, here's the long range for you. Saturday, high of 9, 40% chance of showers. 30% chance of showers on Sunday, high of 10. Now, Monday is the bright spot here, sunny, high of 11, and then a mix of sun and cloud on Tuesday, and then high of 13. They're forecasting some chances of showers. So it looks like it's a lot of precipitation in our immediate future. So enjoy it. I guess get out on Monday. Monday is a holiday for a lot of people. So Tina says, no, snow. She's voting against the snow. If it was Democratic weather, her vote is not for snow. But we'll have some snow in some of the headlines, some news to do with some snow that a Nick is in favor of coming up right after this. And we'll be back right after this. And a little sports highlight, too. Okay, so CKLU is your station for all things Sudbury news. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell Tina that CKLU is not working today, that there's a technical difficulty. So it's something that's out of our control. There is no broadcast on CKLU currently, so there is no radio feed. It's only on the internet, live streaming. The Sudbury Wolves were in action last night, and basically they rallied by the end of the game, but were not able to pull off a W. They lost to Windsor 5-4, but at the end of it all. And Coach Craig Duncan was not impressed with that whatsoever. They continue their road swing in the United States in Flint and Saginaw on Saturday and Sunday. I'll be making sure those games are on the air because I'll be taking care of the technical aspect of that. So the puck drop is 7:05 for the Friday game. And then it's on Sunday, I think it's about 5:30 or so. So there you have it. There's your sports report, and we'll be back with headlines right after this. Okay, as promised, we are back with some news headlines. And Nick, I saw you dancing to that little, the soundbite there from a little video. You remind me of my grandson Calvin. He's got this little dance that he does whenever any kind of music is being played. It's just he kind of has this really kind of savvy little dance he does. Anyways,
kind of remind you of your 1-year-old grandchild. That's good. I haven't lost my childlike wonder.
There you go. Well, dancing in general, and it was funny because I was wondering, where does dancing come from? Where do we learn dancing from? Is it natural? Is it learned? Is it whatever?
Natural. And it's definitely natural.
And while I was kind of in the few months I was pondering this, because I go to different events and I find people dancing. I don't like to dance myself. I'm not a dancer. I'm a musician, so I'm just used to moving my leg mostly, and so that doesn't look too good on the dance floor. You're just moving your leg like Elvis or whatever. And so I kind of I'm a spectator when I go to weddings or, dances. I know you love to dance, and
I love to dance, and I'm always on the dance floor by myself with people. I don't care. I am moving to the grooving.
Yeah, you're moving and grooving, and I'm watching. Yeah. So I don't know if you've ever watched Peanuts, so Charlie Brown and that cartoon ever. They have a Christmas special every year. If you haven't seen Charlie Brown, you can watch the Christmas special. But they'll usually have a sequence where they're all dancing, and if you watch one character, they just have their one move, and so one person will be doing this, and the other person doing this. So, and it's a cartoon, but that's what dancing looks like to me because everyone's got their signature moves, right? And they're all different. So I just think it's entertaining.
It is entertaining. I always feel like I'm doing these social experiments. And when I go out, sometimes I'll let loose, like really let go and like kind of dance like a complete weirdo. And then all of a sudden I see all these people, you know what? I'll get on the dance floor because no one's watching me. everyone's dancing, watching that weirdo over there, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
everyone's dancing, and I'm like, Nick, this is because of you, like, well, your energy, and people just want to dance and let go and let loose. So it's always good to let yourself shine and let
Yeah,
yourself let go, and it's
exactly.
inspiring and it's really good to dance.
I know.
So
So
we got lots to talk about.
Shane says he does the introvert shuffle,
Oh, that's
which
funny.
is basically doing nothing. So that's more along the lines of me. So I just thought we could go, maybe instead of unpacking things right away, or we can a little bit, but I thought we should just go through the stories that we shared on the Sudbury News Facebook page, just to, basically, it's basically like going through headlines a bit. So let's
Which one do you want to
just
start with?
share that right at the top. It'll be what we're talking about later. Anyways, I'm hoping to unpack this. It's covered by the Sudbury Star, and it was the mayoral candidate debate yesterday at Collège Boreal. And I was at Collège Boreal doing a training. I'd been there all week, and I saw the signs, mayoral candidate debate with arrows going to the amphitheater. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to go to that. So I was like, when is it? So I Googled it, and all that came up was a different date. A mayoral candidate, Collège Boreal, and a different date came up. And so I just quickly looked and I said, oh, it's already passed. So the signs must still be up. Must have happened yesterday or something. I don't know. I must have missed it. And then this morning I'm looking through the news stories, and there you have it. It was last night at Collège Boreal. It was the Chamber of Commerce mayoral debate. But I do want to talk about how it was covered. I want to talk about, the media's response to it, and maybe even the host, and maybe even the moderator, and how things are done there. But here's the one you like so much. Sudbury Trail Plan Association gets $400,000 to build 3 snowmobile bridges.
Pretty cool.
The quote is, the Farmer's Almanac says it's going to snow, so fingers and toes crossed. Farmer's Almanac is usually right. If you're alluding to the true Farmer's Almanac, I don't know how many versions, if there's only one version, or if there's somebody's take on the almanac, or what, it's usually right. So, sorry, just a little bit of a sniffle this morning. This is the question I have about. Go ahead.
Yes, sorry, go ahead. Nope.
No, the money. Where's the money coming from? So maybe we'll look into that later. Shame they didn't allot some money towards repairing the skied rail bridge and bringing it back as part of the trail. Okay, I'm not sure about that. Have you ever snowmobiled around that area, Nick?
No, I actually haven't. And my brother lives in Skeed, so I should definitely check it out.
You can go visit them on your snowmobile, and then you'll know exactly what they're talking
I'm
about.
going to do that.
Sudbury thief hid in a Tim Hortons and walked away with tablets after the store closed.
Like, come on. How do you hide in a Tim Hortons?
In the bathroom, maybe? I don't know. Sudbury man is homeless and is battling addiction. So this was said to the judge or whatever. So this was, I guess, came out in court. This must have happened some time ago. Students in Chelmsford get a little taste of homelessness.
Don't do drugs, kids.
ESC Champlain held its 12th annual Homeless for a Night. And they also collected donations. So that's from the Sudbury Star. Have you ever done anything like that, Nick, through school or anything?
We just did like a rockathon,
Oh, okay.
like an all-nighter rockathon type of deal. That's about it. But I've never stayed outside or did that type of thing. I've never actually even been to a soup clinic.
Or a soup kitchen?
Soup kitchen, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's
Yeah.
those are very.
I've always
Go ahead.
thought that that's something I would want to do with my daughter, like when she's
Yep.
a little older. Maybe now she's going to be 5, but I wanted her to see different perspective of how
For
different
sure.
people live. And not everybody has a house. She saw someone dumpster dive, and she's like, why are they eating out of a dumpster? And I said, well, of course, I'm a mom and I'm going to take this opportunity to possibly traumatize my kid a little bit.
Yep.
And I said, well, she made bad decisions and didn't go to school, Journey. So make sure you go to school. And like, I don't know, this person probably did go to school, but
Could have.
it just, when your kid kind of doesn't want to go to school, you're going to take
Well,
that
I guess,
opportunity.
yeah. I think that's one component, though, right? Like if you don't have an education, that then could lead to other things that
Right.
You're more vulnerable to end up in a situation like this.
Yeah, because an
So,
education gives you confidence.
Exactly, and money because you can get a job.
Yes.
Afford
Education
places.
makes you broke first.
Yeah,
And
kind of
then
thing.
you can go get a job. And at least your high school. I'm talking about she's in primary school, She's
Mm-hmm.
complaining about going to school already. So it's going to be a long road ahead.
So I guess that's what the school is doing, right? They're exposing them to kind of what it's like. So maybe they're thinking, man, I kind of appreciate my bed at home. I appreciate a warm cooked meal. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I don't ever want to end up like this. So maybe some of the choices I could make that end up like this, maybe I don't want to do that, right? So,
I think it's a great idea. I remember when police officers came into her school and talked about drugs and just videos about drug addicts, and that traumatized me. And I stayed away from drugs for a really long time.
yeah, exactly. So I guess back to the bridge ideas. Julia's saying it's a dangerous bridge. Erica's saying that's the Nope Bridge. That's a Nope Bridge. And Julie's also saying she won't even walk on it. It's way too sketchy.
Whoa.
And Natalie, extremely.
She says it's been set on fire. It saves
Oh.
so much time to take that area to get to the other parts of the trail system. Hope it can be repaired and we can all start using again safely. It is an important part of the trail system and promoting ecotourism in our communities. That's really cool. And let's see, Natalie, if it's going to take them 3 years to, complete this bridge. But it'd be nice if they can have it ready for this season.
But it just sounds like something needs to be done about it, though. Either way, like what's done, like something needs to be done. Sounds like it's a possible disaster waiting to happen or something to me.
So that's cool that something's actually getting done and there's money happening towards it. And
Well, I don't know if that's in the plans. It's for 3 bridges, but is that one of the bridges? I don't know, right? So,
Right.
well, while we're here, might as well see. Let's
I'm gonna
unpack
click on
this
it.
one. It seems like we're already kind of diving right into it. So let's go with the flow. For $400,000, the province has granted $834,000 to snowmobile clubs across Northern Ontario to improve their trail networks. 3 new bridges this season thanks to $400,000 from the Northern Ontario Heritage Fund Corporation. Trail plan has put $400,000 it got from Northern Ontario Heritage NOHFC toward 3 new bridges for snowmobiles. The president of the association said the bridges are almost complete. Oh, they're already in the works. And the third will be ready at the end of November. The bridges across Whitson, Morton, and McGrindle Rivers in Greater Sudbury. So it doesn't sound like that's any of the one that's getting done.
Doesn't sound like it's a skied bridge.
No. So there's 3 other ones getting done. And now back to our homeless, the Chelmsford students getting a little taste of homelessness. And it seems like they do this on a regular basis too, right? Because it's their 12th annual. Sarah says, I think it's important to show compassion. You don't know what people are going through. Obviously, my grandson's grade 9 are going through. My son Grayson is 9 and he just made 48 scarves for the homeless community.
Yeah,
Oh my
that's
goodness. That is so awesome.
Cool.
Sorry about my reading in my eyes, everybody. I probably should invest in some glasses, my better glasses.
I could do the reading for you. Teamwork makes the dream work.
So Natalie, Julia is saying that to Natalie's comment.
Yes, absolutely. Repair and railing and perhaps game cams to stop certain nearby residents from lighting it up again.
There you go.
Wow.
Here's a huge story here, and we might even be able to see a little clip from CTV, is the the new establishing of the new kind of boundaries for Northern Ontario, so that we're gonna lose out on one of the ridings in Northern Ontario and have less representation. Well, we talked yesterday how there was a pushback, and now they're extending that. Back. So this is a bit lengthy. So I'm not sure here. I might have to cut it off at some point. But I guess Mark said, hey, chimes in about this whole, rejigging of the boundaries in Northern Ontario. So let's just maybe have a bit of a listen to that, and then we'll be back right after this.
Plan will last until September 2023. Federal electoral districts, which compose the House of Commons, are being examined. They're based on the census and population. And in Northern Ontario, we could lose a seat, reduced from 10 to 9. To talk more, let's bring in Nickel Belt MP Mark Saray. He joins us from Ottawa. Hi there, Mr. Saray.
Hello, how are we doing?
Doing well. So what kind of challenges do you think this would pose with larger ridings and fewer members of Parliament?
Yes, well, the redistribution is something that occurs every 10 years. As you mentioned, it looks at the population growth, the shifts in population, by riding across provincially, by province. So basically the Commission in Ontario kind of looks at, the population growth in Southern Ontario, which has exploded, and then looks at some of the variances that we have from a population perspective. And what they've done, they pretty much applied the same formula that they have in Southern Ontario to Northern Ontario, which is wrong. And when we look at the population and the metrics, Ottawa, Toronto, Montreal, it's not the same as Nickel Belt, Timmins, North Bay, Sudbury, Sainte Marie. So we really have to look at, because the Commission looks at a percentage of 10% or 15% of, they want 116,000 population per MP. And that's not realistic in Northern Ontario, because we have, as you know, we have a lot of other factors like travel, the density, and then also we do have, Francophone communities in certain areas, First Nations. So this is something that it affects the people in Northern Ontario from a service level perspective.
Timmins James Bay MP Charlie Angus calls the proposed changes a kick in the teeth. So I guess you see it that way too, right? Because we're, again, getting stiffed.
Well, this is once again another element of individuals drawing a map in a boardroom in Toronto or Ottawa. And it's very frustrating because, we know that, FedNor, and as an independent agency looking at trying to develop the economic development in Northern Ontario, we look at federal MPs, we have provincial MPs that are in government. We have new mayors, too, that will be elected very shortly. We know Northern Ontario has a lot of potential because of the forestry, the mining, critical minerals, and having less representation makes the growth of Northern Ontario even more challenging. And let's be clear here, already we have, I'll use the example of Nickel Belt. Every municipal council unanimously has objected to this redistribution. We have letters from NACFO Sudbury on the Francophone side. We have the provincial Francophone. We have individuals. We have First Nations community that are objecting. So we really have a strong case that we're building. Well, what's frustrating is that we've had this conversation, and for example, in 2002, when the Federal Commission reduced one member of Parliament in Northern Ontario, and actually it was my uncle, Benoit Serré, that had the Timiskaming, Cochrane, French River, that mirrored the provincial. So provincially there was 11 MPPs, and there used to be 11 federal members of Parliament.
These changes are being made by the Independent Electoral Boundary Commission, so MPs really don't have a say in this, right? Is there still hope that you can get that seat back then?
Well, correct. I mean, let's be clear. Right now we have 10 federal members of Parliament, 2 Conservatives, 2 NDP, 6 Liberals, and we've already jointly objected to the changes. But more importantly, as an MP in this independent, we need support from the public. We need support from municipalities, which we've already received lots. But there's an opportunity now to write to the Commission by October 29th to ensure that the Commission does not reduce representation because it will reduce services to constituents all across Northern Ontario. It will also reduce federal funding. But you have an opportunity right now until October 29th to write your concerns to the Commission by October 29th to ensure that we keep the representation and we make sure that we grow Northern Ontario together.
Mr. Saray, always a pleasure. Thanks for your time this evening.
Thank you so much.
There you go. So there you go. I'm glad we were able to get through that. I think it was very informative from Mr. Fedeli, my old boss. He's such a good guy. He was one of my best bosses I've ever had. He's really cool. It was great to see him there in that interview again. What are your thoughts, Nick?
I agree with him. You can't really compare down south to Northern Ontario. We actually need more seats because there's just so much going on up here in different communities. We actually need, different type of funding. You can't just use the same formula for something that's downtown Toronto or in the south to Northern Ontario. It just doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't make sense at all. And again, it looks like we have until the 29th of October to actually, get our voices heard to the Commission. So I don't know what's being done in terms of a rallying cry. It needs to be organized. It needs to be a concerted effort between business community, the politicians, the individuals, the residents, and maybe even the Francophone community, First Nations. Like, we all seem to have to kind of do something here before the 29th. Or, like he said, even I didn't realize this, we'll lose funding too, right? Because if we don't have as much representation, you have a certain amount of funds that are allocated per jurisdiction. And if we have one less riding, there's one less amount of allocated funds that are going to go to Northern Ontario. And we do need more. He mentioned one thing too that I thought, we're going to grow as this new, initiative goes out to be sustainable as a world, as this whole battery, solution comes in instead of fossil fuels. The nickel and all the ore and all the things that are beneath our feet are going to become more and more and more valuable, and they're going to need plants to process things, and they might even come to Northern Ontario. And even though it's a dividing subject among many, I think economically there's going to be an influx of people coming. And if we get one less riding up here, and then people do start moving in, and you have to wait 10 years for that representation again, I just don't think it's good timing.
I wasn't aware of this, Aaron, but I was made aware that there was an article shared May 26th that Valcarin, their provincial funding for a lithium project. So they were approved for a lithium funding project here in Valcarin, which is kind of a big deal, which is really scary for me. And hey guys, if you don't have a water filtration system, I would be getting a water filtration system because it's lithium. And I was even told that Tesla is talking to Sudbury because they want to be building some batteries. So there's a lot of pros and cons. A lot of jobs are going to be happening in the Sudbury area. And but like you said, we're going to start growing. A lot of people are going to start moving here, and we need our voices heard. So should we share like the email or a phone number that we can start calling and letting our voices heard?
Yeah, I think we're going to have to start doing something like that. I'll find out how to get in touch with the Commission, their information, and just maybe each and every day, just on a segment of the show, just share it and say if there's anything you can do with your groups you belong to, whether it's a chamber or another kind of social group or sporting group or whatever group you belong to, if you can get the group on board as well. And I think that the numbers and of as long as we can get the numbers of people that are against this in there, if they see the majority of people are against this, and it means votes in the future and things, so they're going to get voted out if they're doing things that are against what people here want. I think they'll listen. I know it has nothing to do with the government. The Commission is a totally separate thing than the government. So, but anyways, many voices together can have power. So that's all we can do. So we can only do what we can do.
We saw that yesterday about how things are halted because people's voices were heard. So we're already seeing it, that it is important to voice your opinion. It's important to just even share a status on Facebook because it starts the conversation. So literally sharing your opinion is always a good thing. You're being authentic. It's always a good thing. Yeah, Pam's comment is looking at the map, it seems to me that Sudbury is central Ontario, not Northern Ontario. I've always been confused as why we are considered Northern Ontario.
Yeah, we're on the same latitude as Ottawa kind of thing. You know what I mean? We're not any more north than Ottawa.
Really?
If you look at the map kind of thing, we're pretty much, maybe Ottawa just to say a little bit lower, but it's pretty on par. Northern Ontario goes up. Like there's a Texas state area the size of Texas north of us. It's huge. Like it's, but again, population, there's not much. So we don't really think too much of that. All the population is in Southern Ontario. We're more central. I think a lot of people talk about Muskoka as being central, Barrie, and even Parry Sound sometimes gets clumped into central, and then we're northern. But if you look at a map, we kind of look more like Northern Ontario. I mean, Central Ontario.
Central.
So I thought we were just going to breeze through these headlines, but it's not happening. Usually it doesn't for some reason because we end up talking about them and unpacking them as we go. But, oh well, that's the way that it goes. We got funding. This is the theme of the show today as the sun is coming out, which is interesting. Love to see the sun. Community-based organizations in Sudbury receive provincial funding to prevent cybercrime. And I think that's in the amount, according to the next story, of $180,000 going to 2 organizations to help fight cybercrime in Greater Sudbury. I don't know how you fight cybercrime, but apparently it's possible if you have $180,000. Can fight cybercrime. Okay, so mayoral candidates in Mayoral Debate. So here you go. What are they talking about in Mayoral? Mayoral hopefuls tout decentralization at Mayoral Debate. Now that's the whole idea when Sudbury got together and amalgamated all the communities into one centralized version of Sudbury. All the money goes downtown to Tom Davies Square and then it's allocated out afterwards. Whereas before, all the outlying communities had their own mayors and their own councils and everything. They dealt with their own issues in their own ways. But then it centralized, and then the promise was, don't worry, you're not going to lose any services. But eventually, I think people felt that it was. Oh, the news calls us Northeastern Ontario, according to Miles. Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think services have gone down as far as I can see, and the consensus is among people that, services have gone down in the outlying communities. So Wednesday's mayoral candidates debate saw 6 candidates hash out their platforms at the Cape Mayoral Arena, which included a special focus on outlying communities. So the main person here, mayoral candidate in this news story, was Evelyn Ducherzak. She got the main media coverage out of this because she, as part of her platform, she says she will decentralize. So amalgamation resulted in a one city, one service model favoring the city, mayoral candidate Evelyn Ducherzak said, pledging to push forward a decentralized model.
So what does that mean?
So she wants to go back to the way it was.
Good. Evelyn, I like you. Have we interviewed her?
No, not yet. We are going to. She's on the docket.
Right.
This former Ward 4 councillor said would ensure services are assigned to the needs of individual towns as they were before amalgamation. That is very important to our people. Now, even though she says she'll support decentralization, we don't know what that means. Again, politics, you say something, but it could just mean still be centralized, but we're going to make a decentralized kind of version of centralized, making sure that the outlying areas get
right.
Their services.
Miranda, I see in the article, has also shared plans for decentralizing model in order to offer outlying communities a sense of autonomy and efficiency.
Yeah.
Which Miranda, I think, is my girl. I think I'm voting Miranda all the way.
So yeah, there's no doubt about it. You have to do something about it, whether or not it stays centralized and you have something built in. Each community has a certain amount of funds no matter what, and they have their own budgets, and they have somebody over that allocating things. They need to have the best of both worlds, put it that way.
I don't think you decentralize if there's still like a hierarchy. That means you still have to go and ask permission for your funding to go somewhere. That means there's still meetings. There's still, these meetings that happen. It just happens for months and months and months and months. If Valley East just took care of Valley East, there's no meeting. We don't need to go to Sudbury and ask for funding. We don't need to ask for extra. We can treat our little town like our own little business. That's why I really like entrepreneurs being in power than politicians. And I just saw a documentary not too long ago how politicians destroy communities. And,
for sure.
One time there was no politicians in a town I think it might have been Boston, or it was a big city in the States, and politicians came and destroyed everything, created legislations, created all these laws. They destroy things. We don't need politicians. Like, you think of politics, it's cringy for a reason, because it's a complete disconnect, and there's just lots of lies and a lot of corruption.
So I think yesterday the day before we were talking about libertarian, what libertarian means. That's a little bit like that. It's like more power just in the people, let the people figure out their problems, let service groups and people just kind of get together and deal with things as they go, and less government, like less top down, more ground up. So that's the libertarian kind of point of view. Pam is saying the show needs to be an hour and a half to 2 hours long, which I do agree with. I think it could easily be that with all the things we're talking about. And if we had the time and resources, possibly I would entertain that idea.
If this was our full-time job, we would probably be doing it, but this is all volunteer work. So
for sure,
we're going to be asking for funding from our people too.
Well, yeah, I think that might have to be at some point some kind of financial model just for the expenses over $500 a month, basically, just to keep everything going. Miles is saying for complete government decentralization has to be Ontario Municipal Board of Approval. Yeah. Which is highly unlikely. That's what I was saying. There's probably going to be a lot of red tape, so we'll probably have to find out a model that works with the centralized amalgamated version, but still give the benefits of what it would be like decentralized. So someone's going to have to be very crafty. And Miranda Rocca-Tricelli did share her plan. If you go to our Facebook page, open the story, and then we shared it from Sudbury.com. You can click on her plan and read that and know what her plan is. And Evelyn Dutrisac also is in favor of a decentralized kind of model. Politicians make the process so arduous that constituents give up. Yeah, for sure, 100%.
Yeah, and I feel like that's on purpose. Are we going to talk or depack the article about the mayor's debate? Did we really unpack that?
Yep, this is leading right towards it. So Shane was agreeing with us there. Pam loves the energy of the show, which I thank you for saying that. We really appreciate that. Have to have a podcast with you two talking about national or international news. That is in the works, actually. That's coming very shortly. We began this show with the idea that there would be a more larger audience show as well. We just have to secure all the internet real estate for that and all of that. But this is us getting started with that. There's extreme on both sides, yes. But yes, should be less government. 100%. Yep. So this was the debate going on in Cape-Breton, mainly kind of focused on decentralization and who is in favor of that. And the Sudbury.com article pretty much just highlighted Dutrisac and Miranda Rocca-Tricelli. Evelyn Dutrisac and Miranda Rocca-Tricelli, because they were in favor of that. Now, a mayoral debate took place last night, which was sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce, the local Chamber of Commerce, and it was moderated by Jessica Pope, and here Mary Catherine Cowan did the story for the Sudbury Star. Now, this one was mainly focused on business because it was done by the Chamber of Commerce. So the main topic of the Cape-Breton one to talk about was this idea of outlining areas not getting services. This one is about business. They had one at the Sudbury Indie Cinemas that was about environmental issues. So it seems like each, the one at the Older Adult Center was about seniors. So it seems to be these kind of, they have themes that they have to kind of speak to. The one yesterday was on business. And I was very surprised as we go through that they're only inviting the front runners. So some of them are being kind of weeded out now. So I think only 5 candidates were invited to this particular one by the Chamber of Commerce. They're kind of weeding out the ones that aren't getting as much support.
Shane is saying, I appreciate, and we're probably going to talk about it, that Miranda actually challenged Paul last night. None of the candidates have really been going after the front runner.
Yeah.
And I've been looking, anyways, well, let's talk about this article.
Yeah, well, speaking of that, the article does, I went through it, I skimmed through it. So the 5 most popular candidates were invited, and they included Lefebvre, who is the former MP, represented Sudbury riding for the Liberal Party in Ottawa for 6 years. Former councillor Evelyn Dutrazac, who represented Ward 4 for several years before retiring in 2018. Don Gravel, who was asked to participate after Mayor Brian Bigger announced earlier this week he was quitting from the race. So he wouldn't have been asked to come because I guess the polls and popularity, they were only going to have certain ones that are ahead in the polls. And then a semicolon, Miranda Roccatricelli and Mila Wong, just as a kind of like an afterthought. And then Devin Labranche, David Perkescu, and Bob Johnson were not invited to participate. I guess just because of the popularity. But after skimming through this, Paul Lefebvre, basically, he takes up the, I guess, 85% of this article with comments and quotes. So I'm seeing here, Lefebvre, I guess I should say. I don't know. What do you think? Am I pronouncing that okay? Lefebvre?
Yeah, as an
Okay, whatever. Here's
it's
again.
Lefebvre, but you're
Lefebvre.
English, so yeah.
I'm English.
It's dominating the conversation here,
Yeah.
and then a little bit about
Oh,
Dutrazac.
now we have Dutrazac. So Dutrazac has a comment. Oh, Wong has a comment. Wong again. Not wrong again, but Wong again. Comment. And now Roccatricelli ends with 5 lines. So you can see here in the media here. Now, given the Sudbury.com one only talked about 2 of the candidates and what they said, and they highlighted that. Maybe that's because they are the ones in favor of what the theme was about the whole Mayoral debate. You know what I mean? I don't know. But in this one, definitely the Sudbury Star is highlighting Paul Lefebvre and what his perspective is. And then Wong and Tricelli and Dutrazac get a little bit of stuff too.
Right. Paul is a full-blown politician, and from what I'm reading up about him, his opinion is in the middle of everything. He doesn't really want to rock the boat, which for me personally, I want someone that's going to rock the boat. I want some change. That's what I want to see in the city. I want change. And it feels like if Paul is voted in, we're not going to see change. I feel like he is lined up with the old boys club. It almost feels like, and I think Shane mentioned that, it's like he's been put there.
Well, yeah, no, it's. I feel that's the case too. So, and I would love to go back into the news and find out why he retired from politics in the first place. What reasons he cited? Because to me, it sounds like it was all part of the plan. You're going to retire from being an MP, and now you're going to run for mayor because, we need a guy like you. We need you in there in order to make certain agendas happen. That's just the way politics is.
Corruption going.
Well, if you want to take it to that plane, I get. If there is corruption in politics, or politics and corruption.
It's it's kind of easy to see. It's hard to put a blind's eye at what's going on in our city, but when things are going in a positive direction, it's usually because negative things are happening, and ego and power and are taking the forefront. For sure.
And then if you want to talk about a picture, I know Natalie was really concerned about a picture that she was in one of the news outlets, and how that sends a message. Like if you're really small or you're yawning in the picture and someone else is standing looking very authoritative, and this picture sends a message. So this is the picture here that the Sudbury Star shared from the debate, right? So if you can tell something from the picture, who in the picture looks like they're kind of in an authoritative position?
Paul is taking control of the conversation. He looks like he knows more what's going on. He looks confident in his stance, comfortable.
This is funny. Miles says he'll make more as mayor than he did as MP. Shane's voting for you in 2026. So that's one thing. And then another thing is, I'd like to actually go through and highlight how many times Paul Lefebvre's name was brought up in this debate and how many quotes were given from him. Like Shane was saying, he was challenged, but I don't find that anywhere in here, that he was challenged. And like they covered from at the senior center, how Brian Bigger handed out pieces of paper to 3 of the candidates and say, write down the city's budget, I dare you. And Miranda was able to do that. She wrote exactly what the city's budget was, and none of the other candidates were able to do that. So that backfired on him. Yeah.
That's amazing.
A couple days later, he announced that he was out of the race.
Oh. How come no one knew about this? How come, you Googled it and you couldn't really find information? This is the problem with our city. We need better communication. We need visibility. We need that type of information that's out there, because people want to get involved, but we have no clue what's going on. And we're here doing the news, and I didn't even know this was going on. You didn't even know this was going on.
But it's because we do this as volunteer. Like if we were doing this as a full-time job, you're darn right. If I was doing this 8 hours, even 8 hours a day, I'd be digging. I'd know when they all were. I'd be telling as many people, get out to them.
That's not. Yeah. That's not good. Because the fact that we're actually aware of the news in Sudbury and we're not even aware that this is happening, that means the population is not aware. Only the people who wanted to be aware are aware of what's going on.
And I think Miles sums it up, and we weren't able to really unpack it, and just due to time, we do have to get going. But Miles says Chamber of Commerce wants Paul Lefebvre. So that's true, right? You can tell that's their candidate. They wanted to make him look good there. And that is politics. That's the way it works. And then the media can then go out and help that as well, if the reporter is on the same side and then the bias is in there. So Marco says Sudbury is the best at the lack of sharing information on events. Yeah, I've always thought there needs to be a conclusive place to go online and find out where all the events are, and everybody knows. And we tried on our website, but we're trying to do everything on a zero budget, and we can only do what we can do. But thanks everyone for participating today. Thank you, Nick. It's been awesome. If you can give me a call, or I can call you right after the show, would that be okay on my drive in?
Yep.
That'd be awesome. Okay. Thanks, Natalie. We appreciate it. They knew. They were dumbfounded to answer because they didn't believe he was doing that. Oh yeah, that's right too. At the event at the senior center you're alluding to, and I'm thinking that's what it is. But anyways, we do have to go. Thanks everyone. We'll be back same time, same place. Tuesday. Monday's a holiday. Tuesday we'll be back. Ciao everyone. Bye.
Happy Friday, everyone.
Bye.